sure.
Okay.
All right, I'll just call them off. So good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, June 14th. We're going to talk about the exercise, the radio exercise we just had, and also how to host an outreach event. So I'm Ann Forrest. I am the hub captain for Victory Heights, and I also help organize the North Side hubs. And I'm just going to call you off on our screen, on my screen. Cindy, you want to go next?
Cindy Barker, my hub is the Morgan Junction hub.
Thanks. Dave Wilma, you're next.
Hi, I'm Dave Wilma with Seattle ACS Leadership. I live in the Licton Springs neighborhood, north.
Excellent. Sharon?
Hi, Sharon Meeks. I'm at the Mount St. Vincent Hub in West Seattle.
Excellent. And Pat?
Pat Mork from Broadview.
Beautiful. Joe?
Joe Marsh, co-captains St. John United Hub on Finney Ridge.
Northeast, yep, or Northwest. Ellen?
Ellen Stecker and in the Roosevelt Emergency Hub.
Excellent. Northeast. Matt?
Yeah, I'm Matt Blank in the Ravenna Eckstein Hub.
Northeast. And Frank?
Frank Gall, West Magnolia Hub and ACS.
Excellent. Central East. Oh, everybody shifted. Louise? You're muted, Louise.
Louise Luthi Laurelhurst.
Excellent. Thank you. And Bill?
Bill Fay with a Queen Anne Hub.
Excellent. Susan? You're muted, Susan.
Susie Hammond with the North Capitol Hill Hub.
Excellent. Thank you, Susie. And Susan Speaker?
Susan Speaker with Bradner Gardens, Mount Baker.
Lovely. Thanks. Abner?
Abner Campos at the North Capitol Hill Hub with Susie at the Volunteer Park neighborhood.
Excellent. Nice to meet you. Sarah?
Sarah Armstrong with the Madison Park Hub.
Fabulous. Gabrielle?
Gabrielle Gerhard with the Windermere North Sandpoint Hub.
Excellent. Hugh?
Yeah, hi. Hugh Kelso at Kirkett Park Hub.
Wonderful. Thanks, Hugh. Anne?
Hi, Ann Duffy with North Capitol Hill Hub.
Wow, Capitol Hill. Ginny?
Ginny Miller is with my hub.
Okay. She may be having audio troubles. Yeah, she's muted again. All right, well, welcome everybody. I'm going to turn the floor over to Dave Wilma. We haven't really coordinated, Dave, I'm sorry, but how do you want to get feedback about this, about the drill? Cannot hear you, Dave.
That's right. By asking for feedback. I'm Dave. I was the exercise director for ACS for last Saturday's exercise. We had 38 ACS volunteers, including 2 from Snohomish County. And I would like to hear from the hubs how you thought it went, and more importantly, how ACS can do a better job.
Let me make a couple comments real quick. There was some coordination issues on my part. I really should have gotten the injects out sooner. A lot of you weren't aware you needed to print them. So that's on me. I sent them out Friday. The exercise was Saturday, not enough time, especially if you don't have a printer readily available. So I certainly learned from that. Send them out sooner and encourage everyone to print. And then I noticed a lot of confusion about what the hub captains were supposed to do. Were we supposed to bring radios, that kind of stuff. So I will do a much better job on my side of coordinating and getting the word out. But let's talk about hubs. I'm just going to start picking across the screen. Sharon, you want to talk to us about how your experience went, good and bad?
Okay. All in all, I think it was good. It was, I was at my hub at 9. I had expected a radio operator sometime between 9 and 10. The arrival was after 10:30. And we did, the location directions were accurate enough that when I swung back by, I made contact. The important thing for us was at Mount St. Vincent, highest hill transmission tower in the city, to my knowledge. I wanted to make sure that radio communication was ideal, not only from where we as a community would meet under the flagpole, but also where we have anticipated that the radio communication hub people, ham operators, would operate from. He was very, very complimentary of the transmission that he was getting as well. A couple of questions about how the Mount would be involved, and I can just assure you the Mount will not be involved because they will be in a total lockdown kind of scenario. And
What do you mean? What do you mean by the Mount, please?
Mount St. Vincent.
What is that?
Mount St. Vincent is located at 35th and Edmonds in West Seattle. It is a long-term care facility. It's also the home for St. Joseph, which is all of the retired all of the retired priests in the Pacific Northwest where they reside. There are well over 400 residents there. It's a high care facility. I've been working with them for 10 plus years. And because of the volatility of that population, they will definitely be on a total lockdown.
I think part of the problem was, and Sharon told me, Rod, the radio operator, was asking about that because we have antennas. The West Seattle Radio Club has put antennas in a mesh network up there, and he seemed to think he was going to have access to those. So it was kind of like one of those unusual expectations.
Right. There was a request about where is the wire so that he could hook up, and I didn't know, and I wanted to further that with, if we didn't have that antenna as an operable piece, let's just work with what we've got.
Right.
And let's see if we have any kind of communication level that's satisfactory.
And Sharon, was he able to communicate well regardless of the antenna on the building?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Great. Okay.
Totally.
Anything else stands out from the exercise for you?
Well, one thing that I would suggest is he had no way to communicate with me that he was going to be late. And I had really no way.
Mm-hmm.
I had been advised not that it was not necessary to bring my radio, but if I'd had my radio, I could have communicated and said, I don't have a radio operator here.
Okay. Are you a ham, Sharon?
No.
Okay. Go ahead, Cindy.
Yeah, that's part of my input. And so we'll do the 2 Southwest sector hubs. I cheat because I always get the ACS information from Ron. So it turned out that the channel you guys picked to use as your main comms, like, oh, something's going on, I need help, is not programmed correctly in the hub radios because you guys changed it long after we issued all the radios. So even if you had been listening to Columbia or, some of those standard stations, you wouldn't have heard traffic because they were on some obscure channel.
Okay.
So
all right.
The advice I would have is, because we do have kind of like Columbia and some of the typical repeaters, is use your most common denominator well-established repeater if possible for your, I need help during exercises. You know,
Okay.
that won't be the real thing in the thing, but that's advice to ACS in picking what they did.
Versus exchanging phone numbers.
Yeah,
you're saying.
who, that particular radio, is that your radios, Cindy, or is it a Hub radio? Who owns
It's
it?
my personal radio, but it's programmed exactly the way all the Hub radios are. It's a walks-on program 2 years ago, right?
That was a change last winter. And you're not the only ones to have experienced that. Our director had that problem.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I know. So the Sharon just said, well, I could have gotten his phone number. No, because we didn't know who was supposed to show up at our hub. I mean, I literally went through this to see what it was like as a hub captain, and I was completely blind. I just showed up at 9 like I was supposed to, and nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. Nobody showed up. I finally cheated and called one of the sectors and said, and that's another input, is that we were assigned to wrong sectors. But you know,
Yeah,
hey, I'm
that was me.
in the Southwest, but I'm supposed to be playing with North. Where's my guy? And nobody could figure it out. And so I know you guys got feedback from him on that. So we were just sitting there blind as bats, right? It was kind of a creepy feeling.
I'm putting down as an item action that, is this correct that we all need to reprogram our GMRS radios?
Well, not GMRS. GMRS is fine. The
No.
ham radios had one significant repeater change.
But Dave, wait, Dave. Our walk-ons have the code plug for the ACS channel. So yes, we do have to get your code plug into our walk-ons. You know, they're not all just those 16-channel GRMS radios.
The GMRS radios are fine. There have been no changes there. It's the ham radios that have had a couple of
Frequencies.
changes. Yeah.
The frequencies.
Right.
But our ability to listen to your
And-
ham frequencies, we have to adjust things on our side.
So there has been a change, and that came out. All right, that's a good point. But you were not the only ones to have not done that. So
Okay.
Okay.
Cindy, anything else from your end, Cindy? Okay. All right, Sharon, did you think of any last minute stuff?
No, not really.
Okay. I'm just going to go in order of the screen. So Pat, can you go next and let us know how yours went? Your exercise.
Sure. We met our
where's your hub, Pat?
Broadview, excuse me,
Okay.
and Scott came to us and he was great. We actually had a couple of people with radios and ham from our hub, and he actually helped answer some of their questions. So that was great. I'm not exactly sure how transmissions went. I think we were using the Maple Leaf repeater. I'm not sure because I'm not really too knowledgeable of this, but he continued after 10 o'clock. I stayed to about 10:15, but then I had to leave and he was still there. So I'm not sure what happened after that.
Did you get the FL Digi transmissions from the city? Simulated transmissions from the city? City to the
Was
hub.
he receiving them, or do
There
you
was
think?
one at 10 and one at 11?
I have no idea. You'd have to check with Scott.
Okay, well,
I
I'll check
don't
with
think-
Scott, but you're the one that's supposed to get them. I mean, he's supposed to give it to you, is the point. He's
Oh,
supposed
all
to
right.
give it,
Well,
and he's,
If my
That
ham
didn't
radio
happen.
guy got anything, he didn't give me anything.
okay,
yeah, maybe that wasn't clear that we were.
well, it also underscores where we need training, and that's why we do this, so thank you. Okay,
We got FL Digi and he showed it to us.
and you were, where were
Dave,
you, Louise?
that's-
Laurelhurst.
All right, thank you. All right,
Louise, while we have you on, anything else from Laurelhurst?
Well, we didn't bring any equipment because that was our understanding. And the fellow
Correct.
actually taught us quite a bit, which was helpful because we're pretty newbie at the whole thing. We were hoping he'd have time to help us talk about where to site our tent if we were actually going to do radioactivity, but the setup took longer than he anticipated. So that wasn't possible, but it was informative to see him, and I don't think he ever transmitted, but he got the FL Digi and shared a few things with us about
Who's that?
operating.
Was that Dean there that was?
Yeah, that was
Dean.
Dean.
Yeah, Dean is good.
He was very helpful.
Yeah, all right.
Excellent. Matt, let's go to you next because you're kind of in the same sector, the Northeast sector. Still not hearing you, Matt. I'll tell you what, Ellen, can you go while we're waiting on Matt? Ellen's from
Yes.
Roosevelt.
Yes, so I was not there for the exercise. So Tom's reporting that I don't know if he had his equipment, but they talked about equipment. So the person there was able to receive the Digi message. And so he was there until about 11 when he was sending a field report in, doing this from the parking lot of Calvary Christian Church. So where we would probably typically set up. And he said, we were able to connect with Ravenna and Whittier Heights Hub on Simplex. And David Miller from the Meadowbrook Hub is the person who was there. Anything else you want to know while I'm texting with Tom?
No, that's fine for now. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thanks, Ellen. And Matt, back to you. Matt, anything to report from Ravenna?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so I think it went fairly well. I was happy to see the Snohomish County guys showed up with their comm van, so they were pretty well prepared off the bat, and it was nice to have a quiet place to operate as there was a lot of activity on the playgrounds nearby, so not having to fight for the basketball court was nice. I didn't bring much of my own stuff to the site, just my GMRS radio and a tablet, just like one backpack worth of stuff. They showed up on time. They had some difficulty locating the right driveway, but yeah, around 9:05, they were all parked and ready to go. We did a little walking through the hub and talked about the role of the hub since they were from out of the area and weren't familiar with it. Initially, they had some difficulty getting online with WinLink, so we had to do some hacking and connect them to my phone hotspot so they could pull a list of repeaters, I guess. I think they were having trouble finding a repeater that was local because they were set up for Snohomish.
Sure.
But we got them connected. I think it was around 10 a.m. that we started transmitting. We were able to reach out to Sector Net Control. I tried to contact the Roosevelt Hub directly via GMRS, and I wasn't able to a few times, but we eventually got through to them over ham. We were talking to their ACS member, I think.
Sweet.
I provided them the injects, and they weren't quite sure what to do with them. They weren't sure about the forms and the formats that we were using. They were trying to understand like how to address the messages.
Was there no one from ACS there to help them?
Randy
were from
was
ACS.
Yeah,
Randy was there.
supposed to be.
Yeah, so Randy was there, and Randy was helping me explain everything. I guess they didn't have any reference materials for how to format it, so they were kind of asking us to help fill it in the first couple times, and then we were able to get several of them sent out to net control or to the sector, to the EOC, wherever they were sending them. And then they had to correct their email address. We missed a few messages because they were operating under a different email address than what they had originally provided or what they were presumed to be using. We also received a couple of FLDigi transmissions with my tablet. I was running the FLDigi software on that, and I was able to pick up a couple of transmissions off a handheld radio. So we got those, and then we were able to transmit those to nearby hubs.
Okay. Sounds like it went pretty well. Anything else, Matt?
No, that was pretty much it.
Okay, thanks.
I think we stayed online till 11 or so.
Okay,
11:30.
Gabrielle, let's scoot to you, just sticking with the Northeast sector. How did your exercise go?
I wasn't here this weekend, so I wasn't
okay.
involved in the activity. Yeah.
Gotcha. I do not have a list of who participated in front of me. let's go to Bill. How about you? Let's start on the Magnolia Queen Anne side of things.
Well, as it goes, I was sort of freaked out by the weather report. And so what I ended up doing was setting up my Queen Anne hub in my garage.
That's right, yeah.
Which has, with the antenna out in the lawn, I had a better chance of connecting with the sector net, which is over at Ellie Bailey Park in Magnolia, as well as connecting with the Magnolia hub, which was by the Magnolia Community Center. So everything else went very well with me. I was able to download the FLDigi messages, except my connection with that particular channel, the Columbia output, it was kind of scratchy. So my reading of the FLDigi message was kind of garbled in the middle of the first one and a little bit garbled in the middle of the second one. So I had to actually go through a process of getting things clarified with other people in my sector in order to get the FLDigi messages completely filled out. So that would be my first criticism about FLDigi, the fact that you only get one chance. Everything else, my communication with the sector net, I even made a simplex connection with the Magnolia hub to pass the message. And of course, I passed everything back to the sector net and to the EOC using WinLink templates because I had WinLink connections and that all worked fine with me, as well as I received WinLink responses to those type of stuff. So other than that, radio wise, it worked quite well, considering that I was in a better, excuse me, a better radio position, because I believe that the West Queen Anne playfield has its problems. We've had some in the past, whether we need stronger radios or bigger antennas or a different location for the radio part. Of course, the hub itself will always be by its box, which is right by the community center. That's it.
All right, thanks, Bill.
Is that the community center there at by McClure Middle School?
Yes.
Okay.
Frank, you're close by Bill's hub. Queen Anne.
You're muted, Frank.
I just plugged in. I'm in. Yeah, I was down at the Magnolia hub functioning as the ham voice on HG, and Franz came down to run the FLDigi, and I was able to, with voice between my hub and Ella Bailey, which is on the east side of the school, the Magnolia School on 28th on the east side of the East Queen Anne Hill. So it's got great lines of sight every place. We ran traffic on Main, both simplexes. We did a sit rep, and you know, it worked out. We were able to get the information back and forth that we intended to do. Because two of our hams, Pam was participating as sector net control of the West Magnolia people, West Magnolia hub people, and Catherine was down at the EOC. We thought we might have Les for a while, but we didn't get to do that with him, so Franz was available. So it was a good exercise.
Good, thanks, Frank. I'm really skipping around, I'm sorry, but Joe, you want to go next? Your Northwest sector?
Yeah, sure. Joe Marsh. I'm co-captain at St. John United Hub on Finney Ridge on the west side of Finney Ridge, not at the very top. So we were wondering how well all the radio communications would go. So right on time, we had Catherine show up, ACS member. We wanted to prepare a realistic exercise, so everything was really bare bones. We just had a chair and a table. We didn't put up any canopies. Didn't even take out the GMRS radio. We just let her go to see what would happen. And she set up and we had people talking and to add a little confusion and a little bit of stress to see what would happen. But she did great. She had a battery just for a laptop and a separate battery for a radio. That was really cool. We had a 5-gallon bucket filled with concrete with a 2-inch PVC pipe sticking out of it that I made up ahead of time that she could use, or anybody could use, to stick an antenna into, and she had sections of PVC pipe and she had her dual band antenna. She stuck on top of that and we were like 15 feet up in the air, and she ran that for a while, but she also had an antenna mounted on the roof of her car. And I thought, oh, that's never going to work, but it did work. She was actually successful at receiving the FLDG messages, and in a way that I've never seen before. She used a microphone and she held it up to the speaker of her radio, her mobile 2-meter radio. And I thought, oh, is that going to work? But it worked. She received all messages, and she was able to use WinLink and report up through the ICS forms and with the injects that we had, and receive replies back. And she was also able to talk to the net control, and I assume on the repeater that was established for the day. And I think that's what she did. And we also had simplex direct communication with the Kirky hub. That was pretty much line of sight, just down the hill from us. I think it went exceptionally well. And our main lesson learned would be the ACS operator at each hub should be isolated from the rest of the hub activities, because they're sort of a magnet for people that they see an antenna and they see someone talking on the radio. So we feel it would be best, and other hubs have already figured this out. We're gonna have a tent dedicated just for the ACS radio person to go into the tent, and they'll have a darkened area to work so they can see the screen of their laptop better than out in the bright sunlight. We learned that too, but we kind of figured it out. If they have a tent, they can be isolated and work and be more effective, and we can go in and out to receive messages. We did. The FLDigi messages were passed to me by her calling me to the screen. I looked at the screen. She had no way to print the messages. I don't know if that's the standard plan, but I did, as a hub co-captain, I did look at the messages that came in. So all of that to me was a success. And other than the tent idea, I would suggest we do an exercise like this more than once a year, because once a year is not sufficient. So that's all I have.
Couldn't agree with you more there.
Good feedback.
And yeah, I have some stories that I can tell about FLDigi when we get done, but I want to hear from everybody. So thank you, Joe.
Sure.
Hey, Joe, quick question. This bucket with cement in it, that wasn't created on site, like right then, correct?
No, I did that 3 years ago when we first set up.
Where is that stored? Is that in your
We
house?
have 3 of these buckets, and they're all stored right next to our hub box, which we have in our parking lot arrangement. We have this wall where the hub box sits in a corner, so you can kind of tuck them in behind the hub box and it can't be seen from the street. And they have two primary uses, one for the radio antenna, and also they have eye hooks in them, so we can attach our canopies to them so the wind won't blow the canopies over. So like a multiple use kind of thing.
Mhm.
That's pretty cool. And then, like, do you put a lid on them while you're storing them so you don't have water?
No, we just kind of sit them in the corner, and we have they have drain holes on the sides so water runs out.
Gotcha. Okay. Wow, that's pretty cool. Okay, let's who's a logical next person? I'm not sure of everybody's hubs.
Got Hugh's left to go, Hugh in Northwest,
Sarah.
and then the group from North Volunteer Park, and then Madison Park.
Okay, Hugh, you want to go next?
Sure. Okay. I thought this was a good radio exercise because unlike the drills we do where we know half of it's going to be a PR effort, we're setting up all our tents and whatnot, and we're doing meet and greet to people coming by. This was just saying, okay, what can we do? And okay, so first thing in the morning, yeah, I couldn't get the channel 9B either. Same problem. I've got, the hub issued radios. And so I went down and, who was going to be my operator? I didn't know who that was going to be. Turns out Doug Kingston came along. Well, great. We're not going to have any problems today. And right. So Doug had his laptop and all of that, and he was using his mobile setup in his car. Got all the FLDigis. We sent a situation report. We sent, I think, a couple of 3 maybe in checks, and did that kind of radio traffic. And then what I really enjoyed, because in the real emergency, I tend to be a pessimist. Well, it could just be me with the 5-watt handheld, and who can I hit? And I loved how many other hubs I could get just with the simplex channels. So even if everything collapsed, the repeaters and all of that, I can talk to people nearby if they're standing. So that was good. And Joe, that was an excellent suggestion just a minute ago, because this was a far easier exercise to do than to do the whole setup to have a full drill thing. Doing it 2-3 times a year would be great, because as we get other people, we've got a lot of these hub radios, and we should do the same thing with the GMRS. Who can we hit? Simplex, repeaters, things like that. So yeah, I thought this was a great, valuable exercise.
Good. Excellent to hear. Thanks you. James, you want to go next?
Okay, I think you said James. I just kind of jumped on a little bit late here, so I'm not sure what we're doing other than kind of check-ins as how we did this last Saturday.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a good experience for me. I'm a ham radio operator, but I'm sort of inexperienced. I've had a ham radio license for a while, but I haven't really made use of it. And we did have Sean stop by from kind of central, the roving ham radio operators, and he really helped out a lot. So it was a good experience.
Who met you at Volunteer Park? Do you remember?
His name was Sean. I can't remember his last name.
Okay, Sean. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, it went pretty well. We're kind of getting our hub up and running. I see Susie here is online also. She's part of our hub, and Abner is also online here as a participant. He's the pastor at Volunteer Park, Seventh-day Adventist Church. He's part of our hub too. So yeah, it went pretty well. It went really well actually. So I'm kind of glad that we got started.
Yeah. Great. Abner or Susie, do you have anything to add?
I'll definitely defer to Susie. I was caught up in church, and so I was grateful for James and Susie to step in and hold it down. So I'm learning as I'm going to hear them talk.
Roger that.
And Susie?
We still can't hear you, Susie.
I'm learning.
There we go.
It was a good experience, and we practiced with scripts by email using WinLink.
Susie, are you at Volunteer Park too?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And actually, we're hoping to call ourselves the North Capitol Hill, because there's so much confusion when saying we're a volunteer park hub. People expect to actually go to the park when that's not our location. So Sean got his antenna up and all his equipment installed very quickly. We tested the battery on the hub's GMRS. We practiced message numbering and reviewed how to deliver a message in terms of voice protocols. I don't think, James, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that Sean actually ever got through with any voice messages. And we did end up sending a message, one of the scripts by WinLink.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. We did send a situation report via WinLink. Yeah, I'm not sure that Sean ever actually made contact via voice, so.
But it was great to meet him, and he was very helpful and very encouraging to us newcomers to this process.
Good.
Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, guys. Sarah and Jenny, your comments about the exercise.
Okay, so Ginny and I are on the community side of the hub. We didn't have our regular ham radio or our GRMS radio volunteers available to us. Nonetheless, we had really great communication with Anne, and we figured out it's Bill Thompson that came to our hub, and it was going to be a later time. It was 10:30, and he showed up. And so Ginny and I were there with him, and we got quite a great education for those of us non-radio folks. Now, we have a bunch of people that are interested in the radio. In fact, there are 5 of us on Mondays that practice. So we all walk around the neighborhood with our radios looking like, I don't know, goofy people, our MERS radio. But in this, we realized more of us should have the GRMS radios, because we may not have our ham people available to us. So those of us on the community side need to learn how to use our radios and be able to at least kind of make some connection. So I think it is a great idea if you make this a routine, and the radio volunteers know they will always be practicing. All of us would be practicing maybe 3 times a year, always on the 3rd, whatever of this, if there was something routine. We didn't even know it was coming up. Maybe Bob, our ham radio fellow, knew this test was coming up on Saturday, but we never heard anything. And he was surprised when we told him we're getting emails about this. What do you know, Bob? And he's like, I'm on vacation. I don't know. So we're all for more radio practice.
Okay.
And Ginny, I don't know, does Ginny have any more to add?
I think Ginny might be
No,
having.
not really, Sarah. You did a beautiful job.
Excellent. And then Anne is the radio for you guys. Is that right, Sarah? The Anne that's on the call?
No.
Okay.
We have Bob Edmiston.
Okay. And
who's
then
our ham radio.
So the Anne that's on the call. Go ahead, Cindy.
No, I'll wait and see if Anne can unmute. And
Hi, I'm new to this. Susie invited me, so don't know anything about anything.
Okay.
no
No
worries. Just
worries.
lurk.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah,
I thought I missed what hub you were with.
Yeah, I had one more input, and somebody said it, and it triggered me. So my ham radio operator showed up with a radio in his hand and said, and wanted to know where his table was going to be, and so he didn't come with his equipment. And then he said, well, I can just go sit in my car, and that was going to be too far away from where the hub was. And so ACS should probably talk to the ACS members about, not all hubs are going to be close to where the hub wants you. You could be in the middle of a park and not at a parking lot. And I don't, we'd have to talk about, what it'd be like to run messages 500 feet to get to the ham radio operator. So it's kind of like flexible.
Cindy, that's an interesting point. And this is rather than dictate how close or how far, part of the purpose of this exercise was to connect the hubs with the potential hams, with their potential hams. And we tried to pair hams up with hubs that were nearby. Sometimes, for example, Bill, who was over there at Madison Park, he lives in Newcastle, but he's so damn dependable. I wanted to make sure that those hubs had somebody to talk to. But that's part of what works out. And when somebody shows up with his HT and says, where's my table? Well, you know what? You don't get a table right away, but he still has to be available to the hub. And as you may have heard earlier, there's a balance between being too close to hub operations and being too far away. And this is what I would hope that folks could work out, particularly if the hub volunteers are a bit more experienced than the ham that shows up.
But Dave, the likelihood that Eric's going to end, because we have 13 hubs in West Seattle.
Mm-hmm.
So he could be at any one of those 13, and he'd have to know which ones he can sit in his car in and which ones he can't. So that's the problem, is a guy needs to show up always prepared to be out in the field, not sitting in his car.
Affirmative, yeah, and you've got to be self-sufficient. As far as my personal operations, I'm set up to operate from my truck. I can, operate my laptop and the radios and stuff like that. So, but then, if I was going to respond to a hub, then I've got to work out with the hub. Okay, how are we going to make this work? It's not like I'm never going to leave my truck, but we've got to work it out. So, but that's a good point, and that basically that the location of the ham was not satisfactory. But one of the principal, actually, the first purpose for this drill was to connect our volunteers with your volunteers. And hopefully this would be an ongoing relationship. Remember, we haven't played together in 3 years. So, we're almost like, meeting again for the first time. So the first order of business was to meet these people, is to find them. And in one circumstance, the ham and the hub never found each other. They were on opposite sides of the building, apparently, and never found each other, which is almost a Harry meets Sally kind of rom-com kind of situation. Anyway, so the point is that was another, there were reports that came back as we need better instructions and so on. But like I say, the first purpose was to get this connection so that you could make these kinds of plans and say, oh, okay, that's a good point. Maybe it's better if your table and stuff was over here, and to see what the resources are. Again, this is not going to work in all cases because you may never see this particular volunteer again. But at least it gets you, the hub volunteers, aware of the logistical things to think about. And so I think there might be one more hub to report.
It might be mine. I think
Okay.
everybody else on the screen's gone. I'll go quick. Ours went really well. Steve Clagett showed up, who I honestly don't think is ACS, but he's very involved in just radio stuff for our community. He lives in our community. When I walked up at 9, he was already talking to the net. Him and Christian were chatting on the radio. I couldn't stay long. I talked to a couple community members that were walking by, just educating them about what's going on. And then I had to go for another commitment. So I don't know how successful he was. I mean, I know he was talking to the sector net, but I don't know about passing messages back and forth. He
Okay.
did operate out of his car. He was hooked up to his car battery, and he sort of cheated by using the internet connection off of his phone.
Yeah, we allow them to do that.
Yeah.
For the training. So the points one point I was going to make is, and this one goes to, I'll address this to, I think it's James. If you have a license, an FCC license, or know somebody, it's not necessary that they join ACS and get a badge and everything like that. Any ham can receive and join in ACS training and participate in the exercises. And we encourage anybody with the ability to participate, to build a relationship with your neighborhood hub. I call them ham hubs, hub hams. And so we want them to have the training. So they're welcome to come to our meetings. They're welcome to get the training. They don't have to sign any forms or anything like that. We want them to be constructive members of the community response. So if you've got some licensees out there that, I don't want to do that ECS thing, and that's fine. But please encourage them to avail themselves of the training, particularly the more higher level stuff like WinLink and FL Digi. Oh, the war story I was going to tell is that you probably have observed that FL Digi is kind of noisy and cranky. The very first ACS meeting I went to, I didn't even have a license yet. And they started talking about FL Digi, and I almost quit. I almost just walked out of there, and Carl Leon cornered me in the men's room and talked me off the ledge and said, don't worry, it's going to get better. This guy doesn't, he's really bad presenting. So, and I'm still here. So that's the story, is I almost quit over FL Digi. And that said, it's really the only way we have to push a lot of information out to a lot of people at the same time. And it's possible for hub volunteers to get this information with just the radio and a computer. And we can teach you how to do it, but you'll get the message on the computer just by listening to the radio, as I think Frank said that Hugh said with I think it was Kathy, it was Doug, but anyway, you can use it. It's just cranky and requires some practice. This is not something that you can do once a year and expect to do well. So, and as far as the frequency change, the one thing I would say about that is it helps. It's very important to be able, for the ham, I don't expect the hub volunteers to know, but hams should know how to reprogram their radios from the front of the radio. So if there's some kind of a change like that, they should be able to do that.
But remember, we had no way of knowing what to reprogram to.
Yes, okay. Now remember, we were cramming this all into, what, 3 hours? So if we were gonna be at this the next 4 or 5 days, we'd figure out a way to get you the information, okay? Oh, to explain that, to explain that particular
We're
repeater.
running over, Dave. So
Yeah.
if you're going
Okay.
to do a technical thing, I'm going to stop you for.
Yeah.
No, that's cool, that's cool. Thank you
All
very
right.
much. This is all very helpful. And I'm gonna pass this along to our volunteers. And feel free to reach out to me with any additional comments. And we just want to do a better job.
I'm going to summarize real quick. I have 4, not necessarily my to-do things, but 4 things that individual things. We need to designate a repeater for the exercise so folks know to go where to ask for help. We need to get that one particular channel reprogrammed on our Hub GMRS radios. I think we need to talk to Volunteer Park Adventist Church about changing their name to North Capitol Hill. And then we need to keep doing these exercises more than once a year. So I think that's it for radio stuff. All right, Dave, you are free to go if that's what you choose.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank
Thank
you,
you.
Dave.
It's
Good
just
job.
love working with the Hubsters. And again, reach out anytime and we'll make it work. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Excellent. Thanks, Dave. All right. I don't have a lot prepared for the second half. I just want to hear what you guys are thinking. So the topic is hosting an outreach event. We hear a lot of comments from a lot of the hubs about, I feel like I am working solo. And the only way to get past that is to host an outreach event and try and talk people into coming to join you. So we're just going to talk about a couple of the tools that Cindy and I use a lot for these events. I'm going to show you one of them. Hopefully you have seen this. This is Sign Up, which is one of the tools we use to get folks, there we go, to get folks in position. So there's multiple websites that do this, but we have kind of invested in Sign Up, and so all of our stuff is built there. You designate the event name. Here's a little blurb about what it's all about, and then spots. This is my drill coming up on Saturday. If you could see, this is kind of small print. I'm sorry about that. There's nobody signed up, so it's going to be kind of a free for all. But basically, all of these are just jobs, and I would like one person in each of the spots. So this is a tool. You send out a link to your community and say, please sign up. Here's a description of what I need from you, that kind of stuff. So signup.com. And this is a website that I am very happy to manage for you, or I can create it and I can send it over to you and you can modify it to your heart's content, but it's signup.com. So that's a good way to get volunteers and put them in spots.
And speaking of your event, I thought I saw more people signed up. Did you take it down and put it back up for the Hub drill?
Okay, there's 2 events on Saturday. One of them is the Hub drill, which very few people have signed up for. The second piece is a mini skills fair that most of the spots are filled by scouts. So that's kind of a separate event. I'm working with the scout leader in our area, and she's trying to get these kids their merit badges. So we have 4 different stations that'll be there on Saturday, and those spots are filled. So that's a totally different sign up that I haven't even really shared with the Hubcaps, because the scouts had it all, most of it. So that's how we capture and keep track of volunteers. Unfortunately, we do not have a great promotional flyer. It's not rocket science, we just don't have something that's readily sent out that I think is, wow worthy. I think Cindy's got a confused look on her face, like, oh, sure we do.
No, you meant for flyer for outreach.
Yes.
Advertising.
Yeah.
Well, people have started, we have folders on outreach and PR. And so I'm trying to encourage people to drop, like we had a High Point Skills Fair last weekend, and she was like, I don't even know where to start. So I sent her I don't remember whose, you know, and said, well, here's an idea. So I'm going to drop theirs in. I was looking for it today so that you have a way to, you know, get some basics on that.
Yeah, choose the one you like and modify it.
Right.
So, you know, there's flyers. I'm really good about reaching out to people I know and just saying, this is a personal invitation. I need your help. Would you mind signing up for this? I have really good luck if I reach out to a particular person and I say, I know you have a dog. I know you care deeply about pets. I think you would be great at the prepared pet station. So I have really good luck that one-on-one invitation.
And we're all good about guilting each other. You know, Ron Angeles is a sweetheart. And Ann and I go to a lot of these. And so I had a lot of fun at the Roosevelt one because I hadn't really gotten to sit and talk to Pat. And we exchanged a lot of information about what they're doing in their neighborhood. So it's kind of like a gossip session in between people. It was a lot of fun that way.
Yeah. And Ellen, I didn't ask you about this ahead of time, but would you mind kind of sharing your experience on Sunday? If you don't know, Ellen had a big skill fair. There was 8 to 10 stations, and that was on Sunday. So
it all felt a little bit crazy actually to me when we got there, but we I think we had talked about different places in our parking lot, in the church parking lot, to set up. And it was more apparent when we got there that it was going to be best to set up as close to Roosevelt Way, which is the arterial through Roosevelt, as possible. And I think Pat mentioned that too, you know, being close to where people are walking or moving made a lot of sense. But it was kind of a bustle to put up, you know, 8 canopies and tables and all of the props and the handouts, which, you know, Ann provided, and, you know, and Cindy have put together. So just, you know, kind of knowing they were going to bring all of that was a big relief for me and our team. And we, you know, had a nice afternoon, and it was great to meet people from other hub sites. And I think it was good for them, as you know, as Cindy was saying, to get to know each other and experience the ours was sort of a grand opening and the urban survival skills fair, and to see how it, you know, how it ran, and putting it up, taking it down, learning some of the topics to be able to talk about. I don't think we really changed around from table to table as much as we might have. And, you know, so that would be something, you know, we might want to do another time. Let's see, what else? I did use sign up. Ann started it for me. I finished it, and it has, it sends out messages for you. It sends reminders a couple days before. It has a prompt, you know, even to send thank yous. So you have people's email address and their phone number if you need to contact them, you know, differently as well. So, and I had fun, and I was happy my husband was there, because we sat him on the corner, and he was kind of the mayor, and talked to everybody walking by on Roosevelt and invited them to come. And so that was kind of fun too. We advertised in a lot of ways. I would have loved to have had more people there. But so I think another piece for us, we were trying to identify another event in the neighborhood that might be happening that we could tag along with. And there was nothing coming up, you know, this summer, and we really wanted to do something to get started, and to try to reach out to more people. But we did at least get to advertise to everybody in the neighborhood using a Roosevelt Facebook page, and somewhat through the Roosevelt Neighborhood Association. We would love more support from them, I think, than we're getting. We'll keep working on that. We'd love to just be part of, you know, their projects actually, and haven't made that happen yet. But we did a lot of flyering, posting the flyer that one of the team created, and we can put that on the website and share that. But yeah, we did a lot of walking around the neighborhood and putting up posters as well, and did Twitter to the local Roosevelt people who kind of cover the neighborhood news and things like that.
Ellen, how many names did you get for your hub mailing list?
On Sunday?
Yes, on Sunday.
I think about 15 people. And our prior outreach was at the opening of the Roosevelt Light Rail Station in October. And I think we'd probably gotten about 20, 25 people on who at least expressed interest. I can only say that one of those people actually joined our team for planning stuff, but we have more people that we can send information to emergency preparedness information and let them know that we're having drills or that kind of thing. So, and I think at least half of the people, you guys can tell me, at least half the people were probably younger folks who have moved into the neighborhood in the last couple of years and are living in apartments, and who seemed really interested in learning about the information.
Yeah, you did have it was skewed young.
There was a representative from the RNA in our last community council meeting, and he was there to talk about bike lanes, but I told him about your exercise coming up, and it was just before their meeting, so I don't know if you shared it with the other RNA members, but
I've been, they have not been having a lot of meetings, but in the last 2 meetings that they've had, I've been a speaker and talked about the hub and encouraging people to join, and they have our information. But we just have not quite gotten them to let us use their whole email list, to send things out. And that's what I'm really pushing for. I have a feeling I'm going to have to become a board member or something of the RNA, which I don't really want to do right now.
What is an RNA? Roosevelt
Neighborhood Association, the community council for our little neighborhood.
Go ahead, Cindy.
So I wanted to, so Anne has talked about what it's like on the day of, and then Ellen described her use of the sign up and some of her outreach. And for the new hub captains, I'm going to do a screen share and hopefully I can find this again. In the hub captains, there's a PR and outreach, and in there is a guidebook on doing outreach, whether it's an event or a meeting, and it's really focused around whole community and trying to think of, Ellen listed off a whole bunch of ideas. And so some of those are, in this, it's about how you do outreach, how you think about, different cultures, different disabilities, different, like the whole community view, and how you can advertise in different ways in your neighborhoods, knowing your demographics. Like she knows she's got a ton of renters, and so working with apartment building managers, but doing this whole little section here about invitations and outreach, I'll give you some ideas of ways to do that. So we've got a lot of tools we've been thinking about so that you're not going from a standing start.
A couple other things I learned and we've done these before, but it's just kind of been a while since COVID. So I think moving forward, I think I would push harder for a blueprint, and it was in Ellen's head. I think putting it on paper would have been helpful, because it's really hard to decide where to put canopies the day of. It seems like it would be easy, but it's never easy. So I would definitely, anybody wanting to put together an event, I would encourage a blueprint. I would encourage finding a bathroom ahead of time for the volunteers, not for people visiting the event, but definitely for volunteers. Cindy and I have talked about a way to organize the skills fair props and handouts and stuff, so it's not quite so confusing. Ellen did a good job of staying calm, but it is a very chaotic to set this up. And Cindy and I think we can simplify it a little bit better. The other thing that I mentioned to Ellen, and I would mention to anybody moving forward, is if you're going to go to the trouble of having an event, and it is work and it's scary because you're worried that nobody's going to show up and all that kind of stuff. But if you're going to go to the effort of it, I would always consider scheduling a follow-on event while you have them there. Like, let's say you do a mini skills fair, and I didn't talk a lot about the skills fair for the folks that are newer, but we can set up 17 different stations. And every station is just a small aspect of preparedness. So you can do 17 tables with 17 canopies, or you can do 3. It's really it's easily scalable to whatever size you have and however much energy you have. But if you're going to do a mini skills fair, it seems very reasonable to do that, and then hand them a piece of paper that says, and oh, by the way, we're going to have a hub drill in a month and a half, or in 6 weeks, 3 weeks, whatever. Always be thinking about your next event. And while you have them as a captive audience, let them know what the next thing coming is, or at least get them on an email list, and then tell them thanks for coming by, and then in 3 more weeks tell them you're going to have some other event in another month or 2. So always be thinking about that follow-up event. Yes, Cindy.
For sharing. So on we finally figured out that if pinned to our blog is all the upcoming volunteer activities. So when you do decide on an event, we can put it on here, and then that way the hub captains know where to go to volunteer. And that way we've got a one place snippet. And if you're looking at this and somebody says, well, I really want to go to the next drill, when and where is it? You've got a place you can come and look at it. So I've got a couple of trainings. We're going to do some P-patch trainings on September 10th, and I've got those to add. So that was one sharing thing I wanted to do. And then the other thing is, Anne's been talking about the big events, and the other piece that we've got, and I know people have forgotten because, I just haven't dragged the dang thing out, is that I built a hub outreach suitcase. So if you get a table at like a farmer's market or your fair, or, some one table opportunity, it's already put together and it's got all this stuff in it. And you just call me and go, I need it on this weekend, and I'll come drop it off on you. So it changes based on whoever city people are giving out. And so it just makes it easier for you to go, hey, spontaneously next weekend, we're going to do something at the front of the grocery store, and I can get you the info. So.
Sorry, I just put in chat hub drills. And what I meant to do was give you a list of all the different kinds of events. I can't do it without it doing a text message every single line. But so we've talked about hub drills, which are a big deal. We've talked about skills fairs. And again, you can have 17 stations or you can have 2 stations. So very, very customizable. But we've had folks do, like Cindy said, go to the farmer's market, just ask for a table for, 2 to 3 weekends in a row, or days in a row. Hang on just a second, Louise, I'll answer your question. So you can do the farmers markets things. That's a way to generate business. We've had a hub captain who put together zucchini boat races, which I don't even know what that is, but she apparently had a really good time. You can create events, definitely, to go with whatever works for your community. Yeah, so big or small, whatever you can think of, there's probably a way to shove a hub message into whatever event you're wanting to do. What else was I going to say? Oh, definitely piggybacking off an event that already draws people, especially if your hub is not in a well-trafficked area. The Roosevelt hub is it's next to an arterial, but there's not a lot of pedestrian traffic there. It's a lot of folks that are whizzing by in cars or walking by, and they're trying to get somewhere. So it's kind of Ellen had a challenging site. So, maybe setting up at the hub is not the best place for a skills fair. Maybe there's a park that's, draws more people, or an event that draws more people that you can piggyback onto. So I would encourage you to start looking, especially now because summer's, here. What events is your community having already that you can just capitalize on? Louise, you asked about the sign up thing. Call me and we can figure it out. I can do it for you. I'm more than happy to do that. And the thing is, for hub drills and for skills fairs, we have blank templates built. So I'm not starting from scratch with anybody's. I'm just duplicating what we have, and then we pull away what you don't want, and we'll customize it for your location, you know, all that kind of stuff. So I'm more than happy to do that for you, so you don't have to learn another program. Sign up.
Thank you for that. But I also wondered if we have a date of an event that isn't known yet, do we enter it or do we tell you to enter it into the calendar?
Yeah, tell me, because right
Tell
now
us,
I'm
yeah.
still doing all the calendar stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, Laurelhurst is having an open house and drill on September 24th.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to send me a little write-up though, because otherwise then I have to sit and figure out what you're
Craft the
doing.
message. Yeah.
And it's just like 2 sentences, but
I will gladly do that.
Yep. And then when you get your link, send me the link and I'll add it to that announcements thing so that volunteers can, sign up.
Sign up to help. Yeah.
So I
Go
can
ahead,
do it
Gabrielle.
in 2 steps. Yeah.
Sorry.
So I had a
Gabrielle?
couple things. Thank you, Louise, for saying that. I was just thinking about a date in the fall. If there was something we could do, maybe it makes sense for us to do something on the same weekend and advertise more jointly, or maybe not, but we could talk about that. I was at the U District Street Fair this year, and they have their main drag with all their events, but then on the side street, they had like what looked like their free nonprofit street. So that might be on that block someplace to do a table in the future. There was like 20 different small nonprofit groups around there. So that might be a great place to reach out to people. Not as busy as the main street, but it got a lot of.
But it's a free table. Yeah.
I'm guessing it's free, but yeah.
Melissa, who has the hub in that area, she has eyeballed that because you're not having to pay for a table at the farmer's market.
Mm-hmm.
Cindy, yes, ma'am.
I know I can't raise my hand on screen,
Okay.
So I had 2 things. One is Night Out is coming up, August, whatever it is, 2nd. And so that's a really good time to get on your bike and ride around with your local flyer and I found out how hilly West Seattle is when you try and do that, but you get out and you find a night out party and you have a couple flyers and you drop them off with the neighbors and say, I'll come back and talk, or if you've already got an outreach event, staple that to it saying, come to the park for whatever we got going on. So Night Out is a great advertising opportunity.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. And then the other thing is, Anne, you were going to talk about not having a major exercise this year.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm really disorganized tonight.
Well, you saw my eyes go, oh yeah, there was something else we were going to talk about.
That was it. So I have I can't remember anything. And I think I'm realizing it's because of COVID. So much has been shut down for so long. I forgot what life was like. So we had the two really large events last year. We were all in Mass. One was in Maple Leaf. The other was in Beacon Hill, Jefferson Park area. Really good exercise, but it didn't build much in local communities. It was a lot of hub captains getting together, and that was great. We all learned, but it didn't help you guys out in the field where you're frustrated that you only have 2 people to reach out to help you. So we really are encouraging individual either hub drills or skills fairs or zucchini boat races or whatever it is you want to do out in your community to help build up your team so you don't feel so alone. So we really are encouraging hub as much local community activity as we can.
And I think we'll work with ACS because, hearing them say they'd like to do this several times a year. If we can get them to, this got planned because it was their Cascadia Rising exercise. So they've been thinking about this for 6 months. And if we can get them to go, let's plan a fall one before the weather gets crappy, please. This is something then you can also use in outreach and say, we're going to do exactly the same thing. We're going to stand up our hub. We're going to have radio guys come, come stand and talk to us about the hub. You don't have to do an exercise, but it's that in the field activity. And so I'll put in action to follow up with ACS and see if we can wring another date out of them.
Yeah, I'd like to do another wide activity where different hubs can talk to each other.
Could you say that again? I'm coughing and I missed it.
Oh yeah, I'm also strongly, be in favor of doing another, if not citywide, sector-wide events where we can have hubs communicating with each other and testing our own gear out.
Well, that's what Ann's saying is we weren't planning on doing a coordinated event like that because that's a lot of work to put that on.
Not everyone in one place, but just invite
No,
different hubs.
the old way, which was everybody was at their individual hub on this morning, and we all do message traffic for a couple of hours at our individual hubs. That's the old way of doing it, and that is a lot of work.
I think Matt is saying the radio exercise is fabulous, not necessarily standing up the hub, but just getting the radio operators.
Yeah, not like
out
a
there.
full activation.
Yeah, no, that's what I was saying. I'm going to ask ACS if they could do this again, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, yes.
May I ask a question about, I wanted to ask Dave Wilmer this question. The 2 radio people at our hub asked if there would be some kind of a template or training to learn how to set up FLDigi in WinLink if you don't know how to do it. If there's going to be a class or a handout or a Zoom or something.
I think
We've done a deep dive on that before, but we could do another.
A deep dive on it.
But there would be new people coming, I think, on kind of, maybe yearly. I mean, these people would love to learn it, but they don't know.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah, I think Christian did a demo last year, but yeah, we should. Talk
Yeah. Louise, that's a fabulous idea. It's not going to be, it's not going to be Cindy or I or any of us on the line teaching it, but yeah, I think it's a fabulous way to do it. And it's, do it on Zoom. You don't need to be together.
ACS does this on a regular basis, but I think that might be what Matt's thinking of. I don't think we've done FLDigi for hub people, but we can certainly get a guest speaker in and do a deep dive on that, like he was saying.
It might have just been Northside. Yeah, I mean, I'd be happy to talk about it if that helps sometime.
Yeah. And Louise, I think what we're getting to here is that training is going on. It's just your non-ACS radio operators out in the field don't have any way to hear about it. So we just need to figure it out and get it advertised out to them.
Well, Dave kind of talked about that when he said non-ACS people could come take advantage of our trainings. And
I did not want to say anything. Yeah, I didn't want to say anything, but it's like, how would you know? Because you're not on the ACS distribution list either.
Right.
I got the impression that Dave was talking about exercises like what happened on Saturday.
Oh, I thought he was talking about any kind of training.
He was kind of both. I did the same thing. I was going like, how is my West Seattle ham radio guy going to know that they're going to have a class in something they'd be interested in? Does it have to pass through me? Because they don't have a distribution list for non-ACS people.
They have a weekly net though on Mondays evenings. So people can tune into that even if you don't have a license. You can listen to the net.
Well, I know, but all that is radio, 20 minutes of radio check-in and 2 announcements. It's not training.
Oh, all right. But they might announce trainings if they're coming up.
It seems like there's a disconnect between the non-ACS radio guys out there and the ACS guys. So we can help facilitate that.
Yeah.
Something else I want to mention when it comes to ham radio operators, there is I don't want to say a process, but there's a template for how to find these guys. I shouldn't say guys. These people that have ham radio operators out in your community that are not connected with ACS. Ham radio operators that just do this because it's fun. I did it in my community. It's been very, very successful. I have 3 radio operators that I didn't have before I did this, and none of them are ACS. So it's called a ham huddle. I will send it out, the directions on how to do this again. Ham radio operators in your community, if they want, they are listed on a website and you can get hold of them. The only thing you have is their address. You do not have their email. So I actually had to mail letters to these people. I invited them to the park and I had an ACS person talk to them about how would ham radio look like in an event of an emergency. I talked to them about the hub. The ACS folks talked to them about the radio. And, of the 3 people that came, I think 2 of them are coming on the hub drill on Saturday. The 3rd one's out of town. So it's been fairly easy to keep them engaged. So it's called the ham huddle, and I'll send it out again. it's, you know, it's just a little bit of investigative work in order to find the hams in your area and invite them in. And hopefully you'll get a, you know, I hope you have a charming sector person like I do. Christian in the north side or northeast side is really, really good at schmoozing people and making them feel welcome. So he's really good to work with. Yeah, so this is the map. Matt put the map in there of the how you find your ham radio operators. So again, it's called a ham huddle. You know, really pretty low key. It's not a lot of work. A little bit of organizing.
Yeah.
I'll
One thing, a
send
lot
that
of
out.
people have deleted their QRZ profiles because of their response to the Russia-Ukraine conflict. But there may be some in there.
Any other questions about how to generate interest in your community?
I have another radio question.
Mhm.
Is there any way to provide GMRS radio training?
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah. So most of our GMRS radios are programmed using a computer program called Chirp. I'm more than happy to do it. I'm sure there's lots of other people that can do it. Program your radio, and then we have a, it's really kind of a idiot's guide to the GMRS radio handout. And you know, I've done it multiple times where I'm just standing in the parking lot and I'm talking people through how to use a how to use a GMRS radio.
Okay.
So happy to do that. Yeah, Susie, just reach out and either I'll do it or I'll find somebody that can do it.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, any other, oh, go ahead, Cindy.
Didn't you and Ron video that training on GRMS?
Yes, it's the video that Cindy's referring to. It's how to communicate after a disaster using radios. It's not really how to talk on a radio. We didn't go through that, but I will send out the link to that video again. It'll help you understand what's the difference between ham and GMRS and mobile radio service, which is a totally different thing.
It'll make it so you're not afraid to talk about it because you kind of know what you're talking about all of a sudden.
Yeah, yeah. All right, any other questions or thoughts about how to put on an event? Anything we can do to make you less hesitant? Yeah, go ahead, Susan. Oh, I'm sorry, Pat.
I am understanding that we should talk to Cindy about scheduling so that we can, I don't know how many canopies and materials you have if there's going to be more than one event in different parts of the city. So I actually emailed you this morning ahead of this meeting because I thought, oh man, a lot of people are going to be interested. I better get my dates in, but it's like, I don't know, the chicken or the egg. Should I contact the school where I want to hold it and see if, you know, this Saturday or that Saturday would work better and then ask you, or, you know, which way should I do it?
Because we have enough friends and, you know, we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there's
so
really
go ahead
not
and
that
get-
much on the calendar. Yeah.
All right. Because I was thinking end of September also, before, you know, bad weather hits.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we learned don't go into October. Bad idea.
Right, right. Yeah. And you want to start talking to the school as soon as you can because they may have events planned that you have to
I
work
do.
around.
Yeah. I want to get it
Yeah.
on their calendar. Yeah.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, fabulous.
great. Okay.
I love that idea. We have done kids skills fairs, urban survival skills fair for kids. So it's really interesting because you can have a great conversation with the kid and you're kind of pretending like their parent knows everything. And you can tell they are listening intently because they have no idea what you're talking about. You know, they're standing there like they're, you know, this wise parent, but they are soaking it in just like the kids. So it is literally a different, it's not a different set of skills, but it's the props are a little bit different. And yeah, we've done multiple kids skills fairs. We can get a fire extinguisher simulator. That is great fun.
Yeah.
The kids love doing that. And the parents are learning at the same time.
Right.
when Laurelhurst used to have the salmon bake before they closed the community center, we used that wheel that you have, Cindy, that multiple and geared it totally towards kids, not adults at all. And so there were lines of children.
Yeah.
And there would never have been lines of adults. And exactly what you said happened. They took a ton more information home than if we'd made that adult geared. And nobody was embarrassed because the kids are totally willing to guess.
Yeah.
So, and the questions were geared so the kids would win. But and so that's how we use that now, is for children.
Yeah.
She's talking
It
about
really is a kid
the wheel
magnet.
of disaster, where it's, you know, it's just like
wheel of doom.
and you write, you know, like food or water, or put numbers to that key up to something, and you'll get every kid in the whole event to come to your wheel, right? You better have candy too, but they, like she said, they'll try and answer it, and you can gear the, you know, whoever's spinning it, you can gear it down to their level, and so that they're successful.
We also use those bracelets that you crack and they glow. So they keep indefinitely, and you don't have to deal with any food issues.
Yep. Is Salmon Days coming back, do you think?
We've lost our park. We don't, the city took our park.
Wow.
The park building.
Yeah.
So no, and the park was the one that hosted that for us. So Salmon is gone.
Jeez.
It was the community center building.
Yep, they closed it.
Because of retrofit problems?
I think it was not retrofit at all.
That's too bad.
All right. It's 8:20, so I think we need to wrap up. Any last minute thoughts, or has this been helpful? Do you feel more empowered?
Yes.
Okay, got a couple shaking heads. That's good. Ellen, you don't get to chime in because yours is done already.
Ellen was great.
I can say that, yeah, our feedback to each other was we all enjoyed it. You know, it was the four of us organizing it. Everybody enjoyed it. We learned a lot. We enjoyed meeting everybody that helped us, and we appreciate everyone who helped us, and we will try and do the same for all of you too.
Quid pro quo. Okay, well, thank you, everybody. I think that's it. We'll see you next time we have some kind of event or some kind of meeting.
Thank
you,
you
guys.
Thank you, everyone.
All right.
Thank you for your information.